Hello,
Hello.
everyone, and welcome to the Beautifully Bruised and the CPS show. I'm so glad you tuned in today. We definitely have a story that I think is going to make you think twice with everything that you deal with in life, whether it's your own personal experience or through someone else's. I also want to say Happy Memorial Day. This is a special day of honor for those who served. I know my grandfather served in the Navy, and I definitely honor all of our soldiers that have dedicated their life and sacrificed their time for our country. So God bless you all. And with that being said, again, you definitely have tuned into a great show today. My name is Latrika Jones. I am your host. I have a very special guest by the name of Miss Jennifer White. Welcome, Jennifer.
Hi.
Hello. And like I said, this is a story that my goodness, when I listened to her, she shared with me some things that made me kind of reevaluate my own life. A story is special because when you hear it, it makes you put a mirror and reflect on things that occur in your own life and how you can learn not to take things for granted and the people in your life and things of that nature, because they can be here one day and gone the next. So, I think her story is very relevant to Memorial Day because it makes us remember and think back to so many people that have been so, oh my gosh, valuable in our lives, whether they're here still or they're gone on home. But it just makes you reflect in your life and not to take it for granted, including the people in it. And without further ado, you know me, before I start any segment, I am going to honor my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, because without him I wouldn't be sitting in front of you today. I wouldn't have the strength to share my story, to bring on someone like Jennifer today to share her story. I do believe knowledge is power. Transparency transforms. And I believe that if enough stories are heard and enough people come together for one cause to stand up for our children who are our future, this world will be a much better place for us to live in and to have a safe place for them to live in as well. And again, without any further ado, I'm just going to go ahead and dive right into this story. And with that being said, again, I'd like to welcome Jennifer Lee White. And Jennifer, can you also share where are you located at? Where are you
Oh,
from?
Bear County, San Antonio, Texas.
Okay, so you're in Texas with me. Okay.
hmm
These Texas girls, we represent. I'm telling you, we are
hmm
on the map. So yes, absolutely. Okay. So with that being said, can you please tell us something that no one in our audience would know about you that you would like to share?
That no one in the audience would know about me. I think I'm pretty transparent. So most people know that I am fighting CPS, that I am rather outspoken about it, that
Mhm.
I work for an attorney and a general contractor, that I sponsor in the program of Narcotics Anonymous, and that two of my sponsees, some people might not know this, two of my sponsees are also fighting CPS, and I've helped them with the legal work on pro se part. So,
Wow. Wow, Jennifer, you are very engaged and involved. And
yes,
oh my
try.
God. Wow. Okay. Well, I tell you what, we are definitely need more people like you, because I've shared before. And I think you've also I said you've heard of as well, Jennifer, that statistics show, if the number hadn't changed recently, that Texas is known to have some of the most CPS cases.
The most removals, the most terminations, the most adoptions, and the most missing children.
Oh my God.
This state receives the most money, and some people want to say it's because it's the largest state. This state received the most money because they legally kidnapped the most children.
Oh my God. And I just was sharing with someone just these within the last 72 hours, Jennifer. I think I made a literally had about 8 Amber Alerts that came
hmm
to my phone.
Yes.
Like I woke up to 8 o'clock in the morning to an Amber Alert. So I definitely believe that is true. And I'm like, something is going on. It just seemed like it's getting more and more. And again, that's why I thank God for Attorney Vince and Grace and the team that brings together this show, because normally teamwork make the dream work.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes, and statistically, you can also start tracking how many foster care children go missing, how many adoptive care children go missing, and how many of those children end up involved in prisons, incarcerated, involved in substance abuse, involved in psychiatric hospitalization, and involved in sex working.
See, I didn't even know that they can track that, but I should have known they can track everything else. So why not track information that's needed, so important, like you just shared, for the families and people like us to know? My God. With that, okay, I'm glad you mentioned that, Jennifer, because that would actually help to prepare me to go right into your story. Can you explain your CPS drug test experience? And also with that, because again, the title of this show, in case people don't know, it is basically deriving from how sadly sometimes CPS tests may seem to be possibly rigged or some kind of way come out with false test results.
Yes. Oh, not just false test results, but absolute lies. I have my discovery sitting next to me, which had not all of the drug tests, but a lot of the drug tests. But at the start of my CPS case, prior to it becoming legal in the DFPS stage, I was contacted by my caseworker at that time and asked to go submit to a urinalysis. I went to the lab. The lab said they did not have my paperwork. We contacted the caseworker. She said, okay, I'll email it again tomorrow. The next day I showed up at the lab. I contacted the caseworker. I said, ma'am, they still don't have it. The lady is right here. She's saying you're not even emailing it to the correct lab. We do not have paperwork. I'm second day in a row trying to submit a drug test.
Wow.
I saw her that night at the visit with my children at the department. I said, I would like my drug test so I can go submit it.
Right.
She said, okay, I'll get it to you tomorrow. That was Friday. Friday, I messaged her again while I was at the lab. I'm here, still no test. She said, I'm sick. I'll get to you on Monday. Okay. On Monday, I contacted her and her supervisor and said, I still have no drug test. I'm not trying to dodge it. The supervisor accused me of not going to take the test and then said that I was going to have a hair follicle. When I went to take the test, they still did not have the test for me to submit. At the removal hearing, they tried saying that I never tested. They even canceled my Thanksgiving visit with my children because they said that I never submitted to a drug test. Although my lawyer stated at that time we had been in court and they never asked me for a drug test, even at Thanksgiving, but they canceled my visit. Wow. So on the stand, I told everyone and the judge, looking right at the caseworker, what had happened. The caseworker said that at that point they had 72 hours to get me to a drug test, a trifecta of drug test, hair, urine, and nails, or my case would be completely dismissed. So I go 72, no, they had 24 hours. I'm sorry, let me back up. They had 24 hours to get me to a drug test, to the trifecta, or case dismissed. 72 hours later, I'm the one contacting my old caseworker to get a drug test.
Because she never reached back out to you.
Never reached back out. No new caseworker. After 24 hours, it should have been dismissed right there. So after 72 hours, the new caseworker on the legal side says, okay, this is where you're going to go. So it's 45 minutes away from my house. I never had a nail test before. I didn't know what to expect. In court, I'd had fake nails on. So I knew I had to remove them. So I removed the nails. I'm on my way out there. I called the lab to make sure they're open, within the hours. They said, I'm sorry, over the weekend, we had a Molotov cocktail thrown through our window and we're closed.
They had a what?
A Molotov cocktail thrown through their window and it was closed. So he said, I'm sorry, but your caseworker doesn't even know where to send you. So now we're progressing through more time, right?
Right.
So I contact the caseworker. I said, now look, next y'all are going to be trying to blame this on me. I was like, let's just, where's the next lab? Right. So she said, well, now you have to go to 2 labs, one for hair, one for urine and nails. I said, okay. So I go to the lab for nails. They say you have to cut your own nails. I said, okay, are they long enough? She said, they should be. So I cut them. I give them. The supervisor comes out. She says, your nails don't weigh enough. I don't know. I've never done this before. They don't weigh enough.
That's the first.
So I contact the caseworker. My nails don't weigh enough. You can't say I'm not trying not to comply with the test. She said, well, I've never done one of these tests either. So we'll mark this down. So I said, okay. So I go to the hair test. Now, also in court at the removal, they had said that if my test came back negative, I would start a monitored return home immediately. Now, we've already bypassed the 24 hours. Case should have been dismissed. I shouldn't have even having to go drug test anymore. It should have been dismissed.
Right.
And in the discovery, there are emails between the attorneys, the children's attorney, the attorney ad litem, and the CPS attorneys and my attorney saying, hey, this judge isn't playing around. What are y'all doing? She acknowledged what the judge said because afterwards they tried denying the judge ever said that. They tried lying about it, but I've got the truth here in the discovery. Wow. So then I go and I take my hair test. Now in court, I had red hair. I'm, as a 37-year-old woman, I dyed my hair.
Okay.
So I go to the lab. I said, is there any problems with me taking this hair test? If there was a problem with me taking my hair test at that point in time, because I had previously colored my hair, not that day, but weeks before, they should have said something. They said nothing. I took my hair test. The hair test came out negative. However, I was told, my counselor was told, my spouse at the time was told, everybody was told it was positive. Positive. They told me my test was positive. Straight lied. Once I got the discovery from the attorney that I had to hire, he goes, look, Miss White, your first test was negative. I should have started the monitored return home. The case should have been dismissed, but I was straight lied to. Lied to.
And with that being said, Jennifer, oh my God, that you are dropping some serious gems and nuggets that I know the listening audience need to be aware that this has happened to you.
They straight lied.
Yeah, they with that being said, are you telling me, since it was a false test that didn't provide the correct results of you passing your test?
Oh no, the lab provided the correct test.
The lab provided the correct test, but CPS
Just lied.
And with that being said, were your kids removed or never returned?
They were never returned because they just lied.
Wow.
They just lied.
Okay. Let me ask you this, Jennifer, because you definitely seem to be a strong advocate. I've always said people can tell me something all day long, but till you walk through my shoes, until you have sat in those chairs when you're dealing with caseworkers, when you're dealing with your child or your children being removed. Like I said, in the past, I have been a victim of CPS. I do believe that a lot of things that were done to me were illegal, things that shouldn't have been done. I was, things were being manipulated, lied to, and all the above from A to Z. So I truly, like I said, I understand what you're going through because I've once been there as well. And that is the reason why I thank God for this platform, because we have a lot of viewers that are actually literally at this point in time, like you're saying, dealing with CPS live active cases and don't know what to do. I even have some guests that have even chimed in saying, hey, I want to share my story, but I'd rather wait till everything is going to be, my children are back, because I don't want them to use me sharing my story against me. That's how much manipulation, lies, and my God, you can only imagine if you don't have a caseworker that operates out of integrity, that knows her job, you can easily become a victim to CPS.
Yes.
I must share this disclaimer that I am not saying that all CPS caseworkers are bad, but I do know personally that I have experienced a bad caseworker. And I do know from what you're telling me in other stories, your others have experienced bad caseworkers as well, like yourself. Your children has not been returned due to the action of a caseworker, obviously, who didn't use integrity and use a lie with a test that was returned from a lab, so you could not get your children back.
Yeah, and at that point, then the attorney that I had paid for was like, well, if you're going to comply with CPS, just go with the court-appointed attorney. So I went with the court-appointed attorney. At one point in time, when I must have had about 10 different judges during the course of my case. My case was open from 2019 and is currently still ongoing with an appeal for termination of my parental rights. So hopefully, I pray I get my reverse and render rulings. But at another point in time, that same caseworker that lied to me about my test, the judge at the removal hearing said the biological father of the little two was not allowed to visit my oldest daughter. We had visits at McDonald's. Well, because she did not agree with what the judge said, she would write it up like he wasn't going to his McDonald's visits to visit his little two. And what she was doing was she was combining our visits and sneaking him to our visits.
Okay, say that one more time for me.
So there are two biological fathers in this case.
Okay.
The first one was incarcerated for aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. He shot at a police officer. He was in prison for 6 years. He was in prison pretty much this entire case. The other biological father was out. At the removal hearing, the judge had stated that he was not allowed to visit the oldest daughter, only his biological two. Okay. No, his biological one. I'm sorry, I was pregnant at that time.
Okay.
So anyways, when we would go to the visits, she would sneak him to the visit and then write it up like he wasn't visiting his son.
The CPS caseworker.
The CPS caseworker. Well, then when the oldest one squeaked, they were able to get it out of her. Then she had to stop that. And because then her job was on the line, she started going the other way. She started siding with the foster parents because she knew she had just violated a judge's orders.
That's what I was going to say. I never knew the CPS caseworker can overweigh the judge's order.
But she lied about drug tests, did what she wanted during visits, wrote up paperwork making it look like parents weren't coming to visits, and then switched sides.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. This sounds like something on a Lifetime movie. I'm not,
It does, but it's actually the truth.
it's
And
sadly the truth. Yes, it's a sad truth, but it's just something that you would see in a weird, bizarre movie or a picture show. And with that, Jennifer, I noticed, like you just said, you have personally taken on this mantle since your children has been affected. You now are, like you said, you help other. Can you
I
tell us,
tried to.
elaborate more what you're
Yes.
trying to help other parents get their children back? Just to kind of elaborate what why you want to share your story and what have you been doing personally to help others dealing with.
Well, the Indian Child Welfare Act is up for abolishment in the Supreme Court. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that. It's ICWA, ICWA.
Hmm.
There's a case that, and on the front page of my discovery, they labeled my son as Native American. Indian Child Welfare Act applies if the parents and the children are tribe eligible. I went down to Bexar County's courthouse with the Spanish archivist because it's very hard going through tribal records and scrolls, because my great grandma did not have a social security at birth. She didn't have a social security at death. She was on paper, on government paper, by her married Caucasian name. I
Okay.
found her on tribal rolls and on the US Census under, but it's hard to find these records when we're talking late 1800s, early
Right.
1900s. So I
Right.
provided all of that to my paid for attorney at the time. During
Mhm.
a hearing, he said, I'm going to have to remove myself from Miss White's case. And the judge said, why? And he said, she has all the paperwork right here. And I'm holding up all the paperwork. He said, she has proven that she is Native American, that she is tribe eligible, that she is currently working on her enrollment, which is a very long,
Process.
complicated process.
Mhm.
And he said she's also spoken to another tribe, which was the Dene or Navajo Nation. I spoke to the medicine man, and he said that if we could not get my paperwork in quickly enough for Apache, then he would gladly take us. And the attorney, sorry, I almost said his name. The attorney said, look, she's showing you all of her paperwork right here.
Right
Right here,
there.
showing you all of her paperwork. The
Mhm.
Spanish archivist, your own county court archivist, has said that she's Native American and these children are eligible. So they sent paperwork to Oklahoma under the children's last name. There's not going to be any record of my kids under the children's last name. They're not going to be tribe eligible under the children's last name. They
Right.
have to go back to the roots and the roll numbers. I explained this to CPS. They should be well versed in Indian Child Welfare Act law and procedures, considering it greatly affects the outcome of Native American children. No,
Absolutely. I would think the same thing.
no, they submitted paperwork wrong and said that the Indian Child Welfare Act did not stand in my case. Also, at the start of every court hearing, they're supposed to ask the parents if there are any changes to tribal enrollment or children status. I was never asked. I think I was asked one time.
Okay, and just to make sure I'm following along with you, Jennifer. So from what you're telling me, and I don't, I've heard some of how this works, but like I said, I'm not a licensed attorney. That's Attorney Vince or someone, in that platform. But I am a mother of children that's been a victim of CPS.
Mhm.
With my own personal story that I've shared before. But I just want to ask you, just to make sure I'm understanding, as well as some other listeners that may want to understand as well. You're telling me that if you are in a certain tribe or
Or if you're eligible.
you're eligible, you should not be affected
No.
by
CPS has no jurisdiction.
CPS has no jurisdiction. That's the word I was looking for.
Yes, it's tribal. It goes to a tribal court, meaning that the correct tribes have to be contacted with the correct paperwork. It is CPS's due diligence to take the parents' information, and I provided them all of my parents' information, all of
Okay.
my grandparents' information, all of my great grandparents' information, the information for the scrolls that my tribe was on and that their names were on, and to take that to the correct tribes. They just sent my children's names and my name to Oklahoma, an office in Oklahoma. I mean,
And that was it.
that was it. They did not do their due diligence. They did not take the paperwork that I provided with them while I'm still currently ongoingly working on getting my tribal card.
And
Because
that, go ahead. I'm sorry.
the Apache Nation it's very, they're very secure. They're
Mhm.
very, you have to go through a lot of process to get to know them and to,
Right.
actually get in contact with them. They don't just let you hop over the
I've
fence.
heard that part about it before.
Yes.
'Cause I used to always wonder, even with what I dealt with my encounter with CPS, I remember them asking questions about, are you a part of an Indian or tribe? I saw those questions, but I never knew the full understanding, but obviously had to be for a reason. So,
Yes.
right. So you're here telling me what reason it's for, and
Yes.
that's why you're, go ahead, please.
Yes. And I even let my caseworker, the same one that lied about that first drug test, know it was about a couple months into the case. I said, I've been researching my history and my native roots for a very long time. I said, it's taken me years and years and years to find the matching scroll information, birth certificates, death certificates, all of this stuff. It's taken me years and years and years. I said, I'm now at a point where I'm ready to contact the tribes, get to know them so that they can invite me to be a tribal member. That's how the process works. And she said, oh, you're actually seriously doing this? I was like, yes. So you need to I don't know why you're asking me if I'm seriously doing this. I was like,
oh my
God,
God,
like this isn't a joke. I was like, you should understand how the Indian Child Welfare Act applies to my children. I was like, on page 1 of the discovery, my son is labeled Native American.
I'm done. I'm sorry.
So no, she said, oh, okay, I guess I'll let him know.
Are you seriously trying not to give me my kids back? Is the question.
Yes. So yes. Oh, it gets worse. I mean, you're a religious woman and spiritual.
I am.
So am I. So CPS is evil, corrupt, and the devil's work, if you want my personal opinion. So I took a spiritual warfare book that my parents gave me. And when I was in the CPS office, they were trying to say that, I was crazy because of the way I prayed.
With some of the first words, I know.
The more you talk to God out loud, apparently the crazier you are. So
the more you deal with CPS, you need to talk to God out loud.
Yeah. So then, of course, they're trying to videotape my visits. So there's a woman following me around with a computer that's videotaping. So I pull out my spiritual warfare book in the lobby and I just start reading it out loud. I was like, if you want to videotape me,
demons, absolutely.
Yeah, you can videotape me. I'm praying against evil. I'm praying against demonic influences. I'm standing outside the CPS building, reading it out loud as other people go in.
I used to do the same thing, I promise.
And so, of course, during one of these visits, my child comes to me, my son. This is not the first time of injuries. I don't want to put pictures up here, but I've got pictures of my daughters with black eyes. So my son
in the care of CPS.
While in the care of CPS. So my son comes to me and he refers to the foster mother as TT. They're videotaping the visit. He's walking funny. His knees are all scratched up and bloody.
He's been injured.
Acting like he's hurt. Mommy? I was like, yeah. He's like whispering in my ear. TT pushed me. I was like, excuse me, say it louder. TT pushed me. I was like, say it louder. TT pushed me. I said, London, what happened to your little brother? She goes, TT pushed him. I don't know. I said, excuse me? Are y'all getting this on video? Y'all heard that. Y'all heard that. That's the foster mom. I was like, where did this occur at? London, my oldest daughter, right outside of daycare, Mom. Now, I don't believe that my son had the conscious ability to sit there and configure a lie like that. So I'm hella mad. Y'all better just keep me away from the foster mom at this point in time, because if something happened, if this really happened, no, this is not going to end well. So of course I threw a fit about it in one court hearing. They actually kicked me out of court because they said that was not the reason I was there. Excuse me, not the reason I'm here. My children are being abused under the custody and care of this court, and y'all are kicking me out of court for screaming about. Then I made such a fit. I wanted the video and the audio. I wanted it sent to my lawyer. You know what they said to me? We lost the audio. There was no audio recorded. Excuse me?
Oh, all of a sudden you lost the audio.
All of a sudden you lost the audio. And after that, my visits stopped getting videotaped. Because now the videos that they were trying to use against me were going to be able to be used against them. And they lost the audio.
That's why.
Then I contact the daycare like any good mother would do, having a dang fit. What happened to my son? Now I want you guys have security camera outside your car lot. I want to see what happened to my son. Oh, excuse me. I said, I want the daycare incident report. I have
the surveillance camera too, right? They
denied it. Then they said, well, we're going to give you a daycare report. Okay, give me the daycare report. Because I was like, your daycare is doing a lousy job. My children are coming to me with black eyes and bite marks. Is that how a daycare operates? Right. So of course I'm pissed and not being the nicest of people on the phone, but wouldn't you be?
Who would be at that point?
So then they give me a medical report, and I have a degree in an associate's of applied science in nursing. I'm not an unintelligent woman.
Not illiterate, exactly.
And so then they said that he fell in the parking lot.
Wow.
And that his knees were bandaged and no medical intervention was required. I said, excuse me, according to nursing and doctors, physicians everywhere, if you clean wounds and bandage them, that is a medical intervention. Why wasn't my child taken to a real doctor?
Every day, all day. Yes, it is.
Then they took him to a real doctor and, he cleared out and everything. But that was only one of the hellacious incidences. And I threw a fit about that. And then in court during my trial of parental termination, they said that I was making it all up.
So they denied all the allegations.
They denied all allegations.
Okay, and with that being said, Jennifer, this is a question that crossed my mind. That's not even on my card today. I wanted to ask you because it just stuck out with me as you were speaking. The daycare facility where your children was at, is this a daycare that obviously was supplied or provided through CPS?
Yes.
Okay. The reason why I said that is, I don't know if you might know this because you seem to be very educated as far as the laws dealing with CPS and statistics and things of that nature. I have also heard that normally when you are dealing with, let me make sure I'm wording this where it makes sense. Say, for example, CPS sometimes I've heard can have their own doctors. They can have their own daycare facilities. Like they can have their own tests. They, like we shared with this story, that their tests seem to be rigged or not true. CPS results not true and rigged. So I have heard, since these people are already affiliated with CPS, 9 times out of 10 that they're going to go along with whatever they say.
Basically, even at trial, one of the attorneys for the biological parent, father of the little two, was like, look, it's obvious that the daycare worker and the foster mom are friends.
Oh, yeah,
it's clearly obvious.
Yes, that's what I was just going to say.
They were like, it just sounds like y'all don't like Miss White. And she was like, she brought the child with a poopy diaper and she didn't want to drop him off. I was like, I'm sorry. I had a 3 to 6 month old son. I'm sorry he pooped on the way here and I don't want to drop him off here. You're right. I don't want to bring him here. But I was being made to. I was being made to by the court, but I wasn't happy about taking him to that daycare. Even my pediatrician said he did not belong in the daycare, that she wanted him at home with me, but they didn't listen to that. And I was under court, order. So I had to do what they said. So I wasn't happy with that daycare from the start. It wasn't that I was just trying to drop my child off with a poopy diaper. My child pooped along the car ride there. And then I didn't want him to be there. So I did not have the best attitude.
Well, you had,
I didn't think they were doing a good job.
Of course, Jennifer, but you had every reason why you felt the way you did. And again, you are dropping off so much. You're sharing so much vital information because this is another example. And I just like people to know, because I've heard some people say, even when they give, from my understanding, Attorney Vince, I believe he would say he wouldn't even recommend you take the drug test since the test could be rigged.
I didn't even know that was an option to deny that.
We don't know. CPS, no, we don't know.
Yeah. So now if anyone gets CPS involved in their life, my recommendation would be pick up the phone, contact the police, tell them you don't want them at your door. I actually was a witness in my sponsee's case on a status hearing, and I got to stay in court basically to listen to the rest of a judge here in Bexar County's testimony. And one of the sets of parents there was already involved in DFPS, and the caseworker showed up, banged on the door. And they told her, we're not answering the door. Our attorney has already been contacted and it said we don't have to answer the door, that you're not allowed to show up here without contacting our attorney first. Our attorney wants to be present on the phone or here whenever you're here. That's a good attorney. That's a good attorney. And she got so upset, she went around the corner and started banging on their window.
On the window?
To the point that the parents called the police. And the police came out there and she tried flipping the script and getting the police to side with her. And the judge was like, excuse me, ma'am, you made such a commotion that they had to call the cops on you? I mean, at least the judge was like, I was like almost laughing. I was like, this is almost embarrassing.
Nuts.
This is nuts. So if CPS shows up at your door, just call the police. Hello, there's a caseworker at my door. Yes. We don't have a legal case. Then I don't have to comply to her. And that's what I would say through the door. Ma'am, I'm not letting you in the door. Sir, I'm not letting you in the door. And I'm calling the police if you continue to stand out here. If you want my blood, my urine, or whatever, go get a warrant.
Correct. And what you just said, Jennifer, is really an answer to so many questions.
Yes. Call the cops on them.
Through this right now. They don't know what to do. Like you said, you didn't know. I didn't know neither. You think you just can come in and, hey, prove your point. But again, like I said previously, they're just trying to, normally 9 times out of 10, they're going to try to use it some kind of way against you
Yes.
once they enter into your home. So yes, like Attorney Vince said, I always strongly, highly recommend legal counsel.
Oh, I don't just recommend legal counsel. I recommend calling the cops on them.
Well, you know, hey, for some that may be necessary. I totally agree.
I mean, if they're outside banging on your window after you told them to leave,
that is another level. Yeah, that almost, like I say, that's nuts. So that is harassment when you're banging on somebody's window and you just left their door. So yeah, definitely call the police in that incident. But like you're saying, you know, you don't have to open the door. From my understanding, like I said, I'm not an attorney, but can't nobody just, you know, force their way into your house.
No.
And again, I wished I would have knew what you're saying now back then.
Yes, me too.
That will save you so much time and heartache and pain if you know this type of vital information that Jennifer is sharing with us today. And with that being said, Jennifer, oh my gosh, you have definitely you're making me think back and just, you know, oh my, you know, because CPS obviously it can be ongoing. I've heard some. Speaking of that, how long have you been dealing with your CPS case?
Since 2019. Thank you, COVID.
Oh my God.
They're legally only allowed to keep a case open for 12 months. That's actually Supreme Court law. Because COVID happened and COVID kept closing courts, they kept extending and extending and extending my case, and then they tried using that against me. They tried saying that because my case had been open for 12 months or more, that it gave the right to the foster parents to file an intervention on my case. It's not my fault that they lied to me about drug tests, that they lied to my counselor, that they even tried lying to my attorneys at some point in time. And then because the government extended it 12 months and allowed COVID to occur and shut down CPS in the courts, then they were like, oh, well, now the foster parents have a chance to adopt your kids. Excuse me? They're my children.
Those are your.
I don't care how long you've kept this case open. It's not my fault COVID happened. Give them back.
That's correct. So they were using COVID as your fault?
COVID basically was my fault. And because COVID had closed the courts down and closed CPS down and closed down rehabs and closed down services, it was my fault. It took me too long to complete stuff, even though it was closed. I couldn't get into court. It was closed.
The world seemed to be closed.
Yeah, but that was my fault. And now the interveners had a right to adopt my children or file to intervene on the CPS suit. So as we progressed in the case, we were again lied to by CPS, the father of the youngest two children.
Continuous receiving lies.
Oh, it gets worse. I was told that my significant other tested positive for everything under the sun. Even my counselor, and she was once our relationship counselor, and my oldest daughter's counselor said, I've been told that he is tested positive for everything under the sun. I was like, okay. Then my attorney comes, he goes, well, we got that drug test where he tested positive for everything under the sun. And they were getting ready to return the children at that time, mind you. I said, okay, so what's the results? He goes, well, right here it says that they couldn't even test the sample because there was evidence that the seal was tampered with, not by the parent, but by the lab.
So okay.
So they didn't even get to test the sample, and they told us it was positive for everything under the sun, and they weren't going to return the children then because of that.
So you're telling me the lab had the test?
There was on the sample. Once it got to the place where it is actually tested, it said there was evidence of tampering by an employee at the lab.
And they have that information. Yes. They have that information. It was by the lab and not you.
Yes, that it was by the lab, and that they didn't even test the sample, and they still told me and my counselor and tried telling our attorneys until we got the results that he was positive for everything under the sun, and that was now why they could not return the children. So yet again, another time children were supposed to return, and we got straight up lied to by drug tests, by CPS about drug tests. Not like, hey, you may want to go retest because the lab apparently tampered with the results. After that, I went back to that lab and I was like, I want to pay for my own private test.
There you go.
They were like,
people do that now.
They said, it'll be this much money. I said, okay, give me the doctor. They told me I couldn't test.
Who told you couldn't test?
The lab. Once I offered to pay cash for it, they said I had to go get a referral from a doctor, that I was not allowed to go in person and pay for a cash test. That's what they said.
Okay. So you're telling me that that lab is the only way in life, in this case, in history, that you can justify your drug test. You could only go through them.
No, I was going to different labs. But what we were able to do during the course of our case was track it down to which labs were in cahoots with CPS and lying, basically like trying to cohort or trying to work with CPS to falsify tests.
Right.
And so once we started figuring that out, then we were like, hey, we'll go pay cash for our test at these bad labs. We knew the good labs, which were honestly submitting tests and being honest.
Right.
And they were quickly giving us results like, hey, we've got your results in. Contact your lawyer, because CPS wouldn't give them to us. So we would contact the lab. Did y'all send the results to CPS? We sure did. We'd contact our lawyer, get the results real quick. That way they didn't have much time to lie to us. But that was after we'd already gone through so many lies. Correct. And we went to the place where we found out they lied to us. And it took us, our attorney, he said he had to fight for that test. He had to really fight for that one. So once we got that, then we went back. We'd like to pay cash for a test. The little person came out. You're not allowed to test you. Excuse me? They said, no, we won't even accept your cash. Go get a doctor's note. You have to have a referral to test you. And of course, at that point, CPS wouldn't refer us there anymore.
Of course. It's going to go against their plot and their scheme. Mm-hmm. Of course not. But that's smart in you. You know what I'm saying? Basically, you really have to beat them at their own game.
Oh, you do. And then the case got worse. Wow. Then when I got to trial, the incarcerated the oldest father that had been incarcerated for shooting at a undercover police agent was barely out of jail, like a few months. His sister is the one that had the children. She was the foster mom. So of course he's fine and dandy with whatever happens in this trial because she's got the kids.
Right.
The father that was incarcerated at the time of trial, he made a deal with the foster parents for visitation, so they let him have parental rights. And right before I took the witness stand, no. First, they dismissed the case. They tried lying and saying that my trial had already started like 6 months before. And the judge had to actually look it up because she knew she couldn't totally lie. There was a paper trail that my attorney was going to nail her butt on if she tried saying the trial had started. So she said court was closed that day, you guys. It was actually closed because of COVID. So y'all can't say trial started. So CPS case dismissed. Win, right? CPS case dismissed. They dismissed.
It's over.
Right?
Yeah.
Children come home.
Right.
Oh, not so fast, Miss White. The interveners have filed to intervene on this case. So they've got rights for parental termination. Excuse me?
The foster parents?
The foster parents, I don't give a shit, man. CPS case dismissed. The interveners filed suit with CPS. They filed suit with CPS. They should be dismissed too. Correct. Children return.
Correct.
That's not how this
coincide. How can
no? And what I would like is a full audit of the judges' donations, and I bet you'll find something from the foster parents.
They in with them, Jennifer.
Of course they are. Of course they are. So then we go to trial.
With this.
Then we go to trial, and before I even take the witness stand, the judge goes, "Don't worry." I start crying because I'm nervous. I'm in a trial for my rights. Even my lawyer said, "This isn't going to go your way. She hates you. They all hate you." I was like, "Thanks a lot, man. But let's at least swing for the fences. Let's give it a shot."
Oh my God. My God.
So she says, "Don't worry, Miss White. You've got a good attorney. He'll file the appeal." Excuse me?
This is what the judge said?
This is the judge. I haven't even taken the stand yet, ma'am. You have not heard a word I've said, and you're just going to tell me that I'll go ahead and file the appeal. So then also during court, and I've spoken to 2 lawyers about this that know this judge, and they were like, she's a wildly inappropriate bitch. She tells the father of my youngest 2 children, because he wanted to be there in business clothes, not in orange. She said, "Don't worry. You look good in orange. You don't need to be worried about wearing business clothes in court." Excuse me? Did you just sexually harass someone on record? Neither here nor there, but judges can't do that. So then, of course, she terminates my rights. And I go and I get the records and transcripts, which are thousands of pages long on a OneDrive.
Yes.
On the computer from the court. I look through it. I'm like, this has been edited. This has been edited
and revised.
Yes, they're not legally they're not putting on here what was actually said in court. So I go stomping down to court, and I said, "I want to see the judge." The police officer, "She's not going to talk to you." I was like, "I bet she's not." They said, come back after lunch. So I go back after lunch. They sit me down in the court with two women standing there who put the little videotape on, and the police officer. The police officer is like, what's up? What's your deal? She came out in the hall and she goes, we don't want any shit from you. I was like, you don't have to cuss at me, man, but you won't get any shit from me.
Who said that?
The police officer.
Oh, the police officer. Okay.
So then I come back in and I said, I've got the lawyer's oath right here. And one of the ladies actually started laughing. She was like, the lawyer's what? I was like, the lawyer's creed. I was like, it's signed by the attorney general in Texas. They were like, don't you have an attorney? I was like, for my appeal. I was like, I am here representing myself and my significant other, the father of the youngest two children, in a civil suit against DFPS, CPS, this judge, this court in the state of Texas. I was like, I'm also bringing a criminal suit against her. I was like, because what she's done here is criminal and y'all are editing records. And I've got proof of it. She wouldn't come out of her chambers. Then I read the lawyer to judge part. And I was like, she is legally supposed to step out here and talk to me. They're like, she ain't coming out. I was like, oh, I get it. She's scared. So then the police officer, I said, she goes, well, what information do you need? I said, well, I need the court reporter's name, the court reporter's phone number, the court reporter's email address, and my case number. The police goes, okay, I'll be back. She's all smiling. She goes back. She comes out with a little sticky note with the information. She goes, you're going to have to go subpoena. She ain't giving it to you. And she goes, now take this information to the DA's office. And
now, you know what, Jennifer, this story is for the books. I promise you.
Oh, it gets worse. It gets worse.
Oh, my God.
Then I take this little note. I go running down to the DA's office. And the police officer looked at me. She goes, Miss White, I wasn't a witness here during this trial, but I'm a witness today. I was like, okay, I got you. Thank you. I go to the DA's office. I'm in front of the DA's office. I tell them what I'm there for and what is currently being done. They said, we'll get you an investigator. Sit down. I said, okay. Then like 10 minutes later, I pop up. I'm like, do I have an investigator yet? They're like, nope, go home. We'll call you. So I call the next day. The DA tried telling me I wasn't even there, that I never came to the DA window. I said, do you have security cameras in that hallway? They said, ma'am, you weren't here. You weren't here.
What do they mean you wasn't there?
They're trying to deny that I ever requested an investigation into this judge. Of course, I'm sure the judge called and said, you can't investigate this because the DA and the judge. So I'm currently in a fight. Oh, and get this, it gets even better. So then I get the records and I've got the records and transcripts. So I contact the court recorder. I include my appeal attorneys and the really good attorney that I had during this trial that had to get off the case because I'm native. And so I email. I call and I leave her a voicemail. I'd like the audio and the video, man. She responds with a text message after I email her, including 3 attorneys.
Really?
She emails me and says that she's the court reporter, that she takes down and provided a record word for word, which is bullshit lies. And that if I wanted the videographer's information, she would let me know the cost. At 4:45 p.m., coincidentally, now I can't prove the connection, I receive a threat on Facebook. What is your drug of choice? Then an audio that is actually inaudible with someone at the end calling me baby. Then a gun pointed to the camera in my face. No, first it was a taser. I'm sorry. First it was a video of a taser, of a flashlight. First it was the, what's your drug of choice? Then it was a videotape of them having a flashlight shining at the camera. Then they stopped, hit a button, it turns into a taser. Then it was a picture of a gun at the camera. Then it was a picture of money. Then it was a demand for sex and said, that's more where that comes from. That was the first threat I got. Now, also remind you during this, I have 2 sponsees that are also fighting CPS. I can't mention their names.
Right.
They said that the mother had custody of the child and that the child was sexually abused, not by her, but during her care, which we have proven was not true. So we go to the investigation where CPS is going to tell us all of the allegations, right? Now, they said that the daughter had been taken to a police detective and that this is what she said to the police detective. This is what they said. They told us, and I'm not going to repeat it on here because it was absolutely positively disgusting, that at the same daycare where I last knew my youngest daughter to go to, and remind you, my daughter is 7 years old. My oldest daughter is 7. That at the daycare where my 7-year-old used to go, that the 7-year-old girl was going to be brutally gang raped to the point of bleeding. She described the men that would do it. She described that they would do it with knives on their hands and knives on their genitalia to the point of bleeding. And she said that if she spoke about this or we spoke about this, that the same thing that happened to that 7-year-old was going to happen to the moms. And while that was happening to the moms, the dads were going to be stripped naked, taken outside and shot. Now. We finished. Then she goes, But don't worry, you two. I don't think this is true. We don't actually think that these allegations, we think that she was making this up. Excuse me? So
What
then
in
we leave.
the world is
We
happening?
leave. We quickly leave the CPS office. We leave. And I'm like, did we just get threatened in there? She's like, yes, we did. So then I throw such a shit fit. I call the caseworker. I'm like, I want the police detective's name of the police detective that did this forensic interview. They finally give me the police detective's name. I call that police detective. I said, are you aware that this is what the child said? And I would like to be known what's being done to investigate the alleged, sexual what. And he said, ma'am, I've never even spoken to CPS. These are your clients. I said, excuse me, what do you mean you've never spoken to CPS? He said, CPS has never contacted me. I said, so we just get threatened and lied to again by CPS? They've never even contacted the police about this? He was like, I believe you're right on that. He goes, this has yet to happen. That was just a threat, basically.
Okay. All right. No, you know what, Jennifer? Listen. Listen.
I can't make this up. We have it recorded.
Oh my God. Okay. What's probably going to end up happening, to be honest, because so much information and
there's way more. I'm just trying to brief it because
no, I get it. And I'm trying to process it all because this almost seemed like this is unreal. That this is actually,
it almost seems unreal, but this is the depth of corruption and CPS and this judge and these lawyers. Imagine what will happen if I actually named names, gave them paperwork, gave them the record.
Yes, we don't want any names to be mentioned.
No, and there was a senator. There was a senator who lost her Senate seat. She requested a full audit of CPS, a full audit of financial records. She said it was basically, they were legal kidnappers, that it was an $80 billion industry, that she wanted CPS to be completely disbanded. She agreed there is a need for the welfare system for children, but she wanted a new one put in place that started from all over. She lost her Senate seat over it, and then she was murder-suicided.
What?
Her and her husband were killed, and they said it was murder-suicide. She lost her life over it too.
I've always said that CPS is bigger than what people think.
They don't understand. They don't understand how this is connected to the sex trade, how this is connected to missing children. They just see it as some parents are bad and maybe deserve, like some parents had some problems. I'm not saying that I didn't have a responsibility or, probably needed to evaluate some choices in my life. I get that.
We all do at some point in time.
Yeah,
no one is perfect but Jesus.
Yes, yes. And I did my parenting class, which they said I didn't. I did my drug evaluations. I completed my rehabilitation. I did all of that during the course of my case multiple times. I did the drug test. I did what I was required to do. However, it's really hard to keep on trucking and doing the right thing when you're constantly being lied to.
Correct.
And
right. Oh my God.
Yeah, I mean, like, hey, even when I know I'm completely negative and I'm doing the right thing, my tests are coming up positive. What the hell's going on here? And what, it's hard to keep focused and keep the fight going. And it's really sad that like people actually lose their lives behind fighting for CPS and sexual exploitation and missing children, because people just think, oh, hey, this is some crazy parent that's bucking the system and just doesn't want to give up, doesn't want to be responsible. That's not true, man. This system is not just about child welfare. This system is about stealing children.
Yes, absolutely.
Stealing children. I mean, I know a child that was in the foster care system, and before he actually got put into a good family, he was in a little kid fight ring. He was basically in the fight club for toddlers. They actually used to pin him races against each other.
Jesus. Oh my God, Jennifer, I must say that.
I mean, when you actually start researching and talking to other parents, and I mean, some people are scared to talk about it.
Oh yes, I've said that. I've had guests that are literally going through a CPS case now, have valid reasons why they want to speak up with things that's going on with their children, but they're terrified.
Yes, and then you look at the statistics on how many times they remove Native American children and never contact the tribes, never even try to do their due diligence. It's horrible. And then look at how many when Native American women speak up about it, what happens to them? How many Native American women have gone missing, not just in America, but in Canada? How many children are a part of that? This isn't just about CPS. The Indian Child Welfare Act, which is a big thing, is coming up in June, man. It's worth fighting for. Like, a lot of people don't even realize that the Supreme Court is trying to abolish it. And what you have to look at is people just go out and vote for presidents and vice presidents. They have to start voting at their local judges. They have to take the time to listen to shows like this and research, like, who am I voting for? And when you go vote and you look at the ballot, and you're like, man, 4 or 6 judges are Democrat and they're completely unopposed. There's no one else I can even vote for. I don't even have a choice.
Right.
You better go home and research that judge that you're forced to vote for.
Do your research. I cannot say that enough.
And then start demanding, like, hey, if there's no one running against this judge, let's at least get some hobo to run against
somebody. It beats a blank. It beats nothing. And I must say, Jennifer,
you have to educate
questions that I have for you. I'm going to say now that we're going to bring you on again. We're going to have a part 2.
Well, the woman that I spoke to, that I spoke of with the recording, she would like to do this as well.
Well, again, I'm going to be meeting with you to go further and, some more information that I would like for you to share, because I know you have so much more that people.
Oh yeah, my other sponsee out of Orange County, they removed her children without her even having an attorney in the courtroom, and now her attorney has just disappeared, won't even answer phone calls. We looked on the Texas Bar Association. She doesn't even have the correct phone number on there. We can't even contact her.
So let me ask you this. So being a Native American, so when the CPS let me rephrase that. Are you able to file an appeal if a case was done wrongfully towards
the appeal? The appeal has been filed. What they're saying now is that because the appeal was filed, that the tribes have no standing in the appeal, that it does not matter because the tribes cannot intervene on an appeal, that even if the tribes were to come in and say, hello, these are our children, it doesn't matter because the ruling was already issued from a lower court and the tribes have no standing in an appeal. That even if the tribes came in and said to the 4th Court of Appeals, these are our children and she's ours, mm-hmm. the little boy and the little girls are ours, mm-hmm. that they will not give them up, that they will not turn jurisdiction over to a tribal court.
And with that being said, if originally would have been done, which you had substantial evidence and proof to show by you being in this tribe, you shouldn't be dealing with CPS, period.
Well, the tribes, that too is a part of it. But also, if I wasn't lied to, my children would have started returning home. And I would have completed my services and had 3 happy little natives dancing around in the backyard. And I got criticized for that too. I got criticized for the way that I prayed with my children. I got criticized for playing Native American music and letting them dance. I got told that the cops were called on me for protesting in front of their office, which was not true. The cops may have been called, but they never showed up. They were like, let her protest if they were.
When was the last time, Jennifer, you seen your children?
In September. I have not seen them since termination. So I don't know how they're doing. I don't know if they're getting more black eyes or bruises. I don't know.
Jesus.
God only knows what's happening to them now that I'm not watching.
Oh my God. Okay. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to bring you back again, Jennifer. I actually want people, I know this is Memorial Day, and don't get me wrong. A lot of people are celebrating and
I know. Yeah, my dad is a retired lieutenant colonel and his twin brother is a retired colonel. So we take Memorial Day very seriously.
Right. So I understand that. And I definitely support our servicemen and women, but for sure. But I also think it's very important to know that this holiday is not such a happy holiday for everybody. Especially what you shared with your children, who I know you said when you seen them before, they had black eyes. Obviously, they were being abused. And
yes, we are basically, you and I are like female warriors in the fight against CPS and judicial corruption. Is how I see it.
You know what? First and foremost, God is the highest, the biggest soldier.
Yeah, we're warriors in His army.
I'm listening. I'm telling you. As long as He go before me, mm-hmm. that we're going to always win. Mm-hmm. We're going to have to, keep fighting and keep speaking and keep digging and keep going down these trenches. But I know with God that there will be a way. Mm-hmm. I've seen it in my own life. That's why I overcame what I went through.
Yes, and my sponsee's children, the ones that I went to court for and was allowed to stay in court after, she got to have her and her husband got to have their first 4-hour visit yesterday at home. So
your
I mean, I don't like to take all the credit, but
I
I
don't
do.
say all the credit, but I do believe you provided vital information to help them get to where they need to
Yes, I also was on phone calls with her attorney, and I told her attorney, whether you like it or not, you're going to ask for monitored return home. Whether you like it or not, you're going to step up and do your job. Otherwise, we're going to file a complaint against you, and I will go on publicly as saying what a bad job you're doing. Her attorney stepped up and actually followed our advice, and now she gets today she gets her second visit with her children. Her and him, the family, get their second visit with the kids. So as long as you can step up, it's so little as just going to witness judges. Like, as long as the judge and attorneys know and caseworkers know, I'm watching. Correct. As long as you can get into a courtroom and sit there and just watch. Absolutely. And just say, like, hey, you can't do it to these parents today. You have to be fair and not biased.
A second set of eyes, you'll be surprised how that will work wonders.
Even if you just take one day out of your month to go sit down, even if you have nothing to do with CPS, if you just go and you sit down and you hit the record on your phone and you record it, and you can hand the case over if you hear something that you don't think is right over to someone else that's listening, that knows what they're doing, and they can help. That's
right. Many days I recorded sessions, trust me. So that is substantial that you shared that as well. With that being said, Jennifer, I last but not least, you have provided so much knowledge with CPS and the darkness of the system.
It's horrible.
Corruption.
It's straight evil.
The evilness, the wickedness of people, of the caseworkers who work out of wickedness, out of personal biases to try to make people's life a living hell, including
it's greed. They're selling our children.
Greed. And again, with that, like you said, it totally is. My attorney told me this is not about you or your child. This is about money, power, and politics. And from the observation that I did within that year of time, Jennifer, I noticed that the majority of people that were in those court hearings, there were normally people that were uneducated, no access to resources, and minorities.
Yes, and the other thing is when you do a psych test for CPS, they give you a sneak IQ test. They sneak an IQ test in there. So if you look at these minority people, if you actually check out the parents' IQ test, even if they're wildly uneducated, their IQ, I've noticed, is usually pretty high, or their children are very beautiful, or their children are very athletically inclined. So it's almost like they're like testing these little kids and these parents. How smart are these little children? How much money can we make grooming them? How pretty are they? How athletically inclined are they?
I almost get chills.
It's disgusting. It's disgusting what they do.
So disturbing. And I'm at a loss for words, and I know many people say that's hard to believe.
It is hard to believe. When I play back what has happened in my own head, I'm like, is this really real? Yeah, I'm living it. This is really real.
Is this really happening where children are being kidnapped
and trafficked? Yes.
And they're able to get away with it.
Yes. If you actually look at, and my other big fight was for the San Antonio Children's Shelter.
Jesus, we're so getting close to running out of time. Again, that's why I say I'm going to have to bring you back, but I'm hoping and praying that this will help to shed some needed light on this corrupt, broken system, and these families and children that are crying desperately for help, rescued from this evil system.
Yes, a reverse and render. That's what I'm praying for.
My God, I am in agreement for you that God will send a refuge to bring needed help for so many.
He encamps me with angels.
Me too. Listen, all day, every day, everywhere in my house. Kid you not. I kid you not.
Yes.
Okay, with that being said, Jennifer, we're getting so close to wrapping up in time. And again, I'm going to be bringing you back for interview part 2. I will be scheduling with you when that would be, along with, I know you said you have another family who you help. I would like to bring her on as well. So we might do an interview with you and her at the same time, maybe 2 in 1. So we will work out the details. I know it's a lot of great information you shared with me with her story that I know that's going to bless and help so many other families. Okay. Last but not least, I know I might have said that more than once. We're just pushing for time. I'm trying to get it as much in as I can. How can people, our listening audience, our viewers, reach you through your social media outlets if they want to connect with you, support you, and just, any questions they want to share or ask you?
They can reach me at South Texas Contractors and Roofing. My boss is also an attorney. He has said if I reach 100 roofs, then I can have my own law firm. So we're not publicly putting my name or email out there because
Right.
that would probably be dangerous.
Right.
So if anybody wants to support me, they can schedule a roof inspection or get their fence repaired, or we're not actually asking for a handout. We actually
Right.
believe in hard work. So it's South Texas Contractors and Roofing. They can contact. Can I give the phone number for it? Or they can just Google it. South Texas Contractors and Roofing.
Okay. Okay. And give us your email address and whatever the contact information you
It's
have one more time, please.
Jennifer at txcustomroofs.com.
Okay. Okay. My God, Jennifer. Wow. And I must share, obviously, you're a very highly educated a fighter out here against CPS to help these families recover.
It's not just CPS, it's pedophilia too.
And that too, that's even more experience that you have that can help in so many other ways. And I'm gonna tell you what also blessed me is what you shared from your own personal story and journey that you're going through, that you're going to be an attorney. And like what you just shared.
Eventually, one day. I work for a great one now, but one day I'm gonna get there.
But just imagine all the information that you're gonna help these families recover. Oh my God, with this vicious system. That blessed me when you said that you're going to take this to another level.
Yes.
And that's what this is about. Don't use this because it's bigger than me and you. This is bigger than me and you.
It takes individuals like us getting together and being outspoken about it.
Yes,
that's how we make change.
Taking action that's needed. Yes, to help these families get their children back. Jennifer, again, thank you so much. May God continue to strengthen you, have his guardian angels to cover you and protect you. It's a beautiful thing you're doing to help these families and these children. I pray God will reverse what the devil meant for evil and turn it for the good. And I will be bringing you on soon for our next segment, okay?
One tribe, one love. Okay, thank you. You have a very blessed Memorial Day.
You too, Jennifer. Again, everybody, oh my God, this story is one for the books. She shared so much insight that's in depth that we have ran out of time, but I definitely want you to continue to tune in because I have some great valuable information that you will want to know that can help you and your children. With that being said, I want to say again, I am your host, Latrika Jones. Keep God first, enjoy your Memorial Day, and like I said, keep fighting for your children until God give you the strength and the resource that you need to return them back home. Don't you never give up. Have a blessed day.